So what went into the decision to release Ahmad right now?
Doing it right now was more just in the best interest for Ahmad. It's tough. It was a real tough decision. John and I had gone back and forth with it the last few days. And once we really came to the conclusion he wasn't going to be a part of our final 53, we weren't going to keep him around just to let him know 9 days from now. So we know there's a lot of teams that will be interested in him, so we gave him that opportunity to go out and find him.
What does it say about Eli Harold and how that Sam linebacker position is shaping up behind Eli?
Well, yeah, Eli's our starter right now at Sam linebacker. I feel like we do have some other depth there too. A number of guys have done a good job, guys like Dakota and things. We have some versatility there where, not all the guys that are listed there. We also have some guys who have the ability to play there who aren't listed there. So feel good about our depth at Sam and the guys that have stepped up and done a good job.
Who are those guys?
There's a number of guys. I can't really say them all.
Aaron Lynch, is he one of them?
Yeah, all guys really, whether it's a Sam backer or a Leo position. We prefer guys at certain ones, but pretty much all of them have the ability to do both.
You prepared to play against Eli last year. How much of a different player is he from that point to now?
I think he's, I definitely know him better, that's for sure. I've noticed him more in practice every day, seen him all the time. He's in and out. He wasn't there all the time last year, just going against him. I notice him more now, though. He's a physical player. He can set the edge. I think he's got a lot more in him. I think he can continue to improve. But I love the way he fights. I love the way he competes every day. He's a guy, to me, who's trying to be his best every day. And I think there's a lot more to come, but usually guys who have that type of mentality, they usually get better, not worse.
The bookend with Elvis in your nickel alignments. Who's the preferred guy now in that spot?
There isn't really a designated preferred guy, and I don't know. And Ahmad never exactly was either. We know he's one of he has been one of our top rushers. I think we got a number of guys who can do that. We got a number of guys who can play outside and inside also. So I think when you look at our entire D-line, especially when you get into nickel situations where run's not as big of a deal, there's times where all four of the guys out there could play outside or inside. So it'll be hard to ever give you guys a direct answer with that because there isn't one. I plan on having strength in numbers and rotating those guys. Who are they going against? What's the matchups? What type of games are we trying to do? How do we want to? Where's the center going? Things like that.
He had been moved over a little bit more often to that Sam spot in recent weeks. How has he done in that role versus the Leo?
He's done a solid job. He's done he plays hard and he's still trying to learn both. I forget what it was a couple weeks ago, but we had some injuries, so we had to try him out there, and he's done a solid job at both spots.
Has the switch from a 4-3 defensive scheme a 3-4 last year to a 4-3 this year helped Eli at all?
He plays the same position, so anytime, whether you call it a 4-3 or a 3-4, when there's a backer on the ball, 98% of the time, that's a 3-4 to me. So I know we call ours a 4-3, but from an offensive standpoint, it's a 3-4. So it just depends how you look at it. Eli's a backer on the ball in our 4-3 scheme, just like he was a backer on the ball in a 3-4 scheme. So it more depends on what techniques you want to play. That all changes how you do your fronts, but our fronts are very similar. I think the bigger change and what they called a 3-4 last year and what we call a 4-3 this year is more the techniques and how you play runs, whether you're two-gapping or one-gapping and things like that inside.
Been able to talk to Ahmad, and was he understanding of the decision?
Yeah, I talked to Ahmad this morning. Ahmad was great. To tell you the truth, it's something that was real hard for me to do. I never knew Ahmad until I got here. I've had a lot of respect for him over his career. And he's been great for me since I've got here. I really enjoyed him as a person. And when you have a guy who's meant to this organization, just looking it up, to be third in sacks all time for the San Francisco 49ers is a pretty big deal. I think there's a pretty good history here, and to be third all time, it shows what the type of career Ahmad has had here. And I know some of the defense he's been on going against. He's played on some real good defenses. So I did think it was a bigger deal than usual. Ahmad handled it like a pro. He was great talking to him. And I wish him nothing but the best.
You mentioned some options you have there, but Ahmad was a guy, one of the few guys sack-wise that had actually done it in the NFL. How much did his age factor into it, given where you are with this team, or was it just a matter of how he was performing, during training camp? No,
Ahmad can still do things. I think everyone knows that, and he's going to help somebody this year. But it really comes down to the final 53, and I'm starting to get a better feel for what that is now. And it's taken me some time. It's taken Johnny and I some time, because you got to know what our group is like. And it's really been nothing against Ahmad. It's how are we going to get 53 guys on this team, the right type of 53 guys. And you think of guys that might not be as good in week 1, but you think they'll be ready in week 3. What gives you the best chance to win in week 1 and week 8 and week 16? And you got to play all that into account. And it's rarely as simple as saying, well, it's the starter versus the backup versus the third string guy. It has to do with the overall 53. And when you start to position stuff on guys you want to make the roster, and you don't want to lose guys to other teams if you put them on practice squad or things like that, all that goes into account. So when we start to look at the 53 and see some of the guys we'd have to lose, keeping people, that ends up making you lead to that type of decision.
Why is Eli a good fit in the one-gap scheme?
I mean, he's a good fit in a one-gap scheme or a two-gap scheme. Anytime you have a 3-4 backer who stands up, they're about setting the edge to keep everything inside, regardless of what scheme. When there's a backer on the ball, it's a backer who does it. When the backer's the other way and it's a D lineman playing in the C-gap, and now you hope it's an 8-man front, and now it's your strong safety doing it. But guys, whoever has the force on the player, guys who have to set the edge and not allow the ball to get outside. And that is Eli's strength. He's very physical on tight ends, and when he is on the edge and he has container, has the force, it's very hard to stretch him and get outside of him.
How long will you let the starters go on Sunday?
We'll play it out as the game goes. My goal is to at least keep them in the first half. That's what I'd hope for. And then I'll get a feel at halftime what we want to do in the third quarter.
Decided who the second quarterback into the game will be.
Yeah, CJ's going to come in second.
Decided if Jimmy Ward will play.
He's not going to play.
Anything else?
Yeah, Kyle, early returns on Eric Reed and the shift in his position this year, pretty good return so far. What do you think makes him suited to that more in the box?
Well, I think it's obvious his size. He's a big guy who's very smart. He's a good tackler. When you play an 8-man front, almost every play is going to be designed to go to a certain person. And if a team doesn't block the backside end, if you play your gap sound, that ball is probably going to go to the backside D end. When you man block the backside, it's probably going to go to a safety filling up there in the gaps. And so you need guys who are stout enough to meet him at the line of scrimmage, that don't have to just shoot their guns to go do it, so then they get beat on all play actions. So he's got the ability to be very good in 8-man front, and he has over his career. What's good about Eric is when you do have that ability to be good in the run, he also has some speed and some athletic ability to cover some people too, which makes him a good player.
What have you guys done this week with the offensive line as far as Eric Magnuson, working him in with the ones a little bit, and Barnes as well? What's the thinking there?
There really wasn't any. I know Bob asked me about that yesterday. I mean, when we do a carded period, there's 10 plays, and it's really the ones for all of them. And that's what you say, because that's how it is once you get to the season. There aren't many 2s and 3s during the season when you only have a 53-man roster. So we're trying to treat this week normal. So you got 10 plays in a period. The ones go out there, but ones won't stay for 10 plays in a row. But it's not like we yell 2s and the 2s go up. It's, hey, our right guard, he's out. We need a new right guard in for a play. Our starting right guard got this rep yesterday. Let's get our backup a rep today. Never, just because you see guys in a picture that might be in and there's ones next to him, that doesn't mean he's going with the ones. It means whoever was there just got to break that play. I mean, there's plenty of times if you looked at practice this week, you'd see the starting O-line in there and CJ would be at quarterback. It's because we don't want Brian to go 10 plays in a row and he took a run play off or something like that. So there's plenty of times you'll see maybe the last receiver on our roster in there with 10 starters, but it's because he's a backside route that really doesn't pertain, and Marquise has taken 5 reps in a row and he doesn't need to run a go route that he's not getting the ball on.
So the offense of the starting line will remain?
Yeah, it's remained the same. Yeah, basically what I have heard, Bob asked me about that because of a picture you guys saw, but I promise doesn't mean anything.
Who are your top gunners?
Long story short. Doesn't mean anything.
Short story.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are your top gunners on special teams right now?
We're still trying to find out. Burbage has done a good job in this league the times he's done it, and he's been out, so he's been the guy who's been our lead dog at that, and he's trying to recover from his injury. So we're trying to see who steps up. We've had 2 games to see it. I do believe gunner is something that you can see in practice how guys move and stuff and who has the ability to be good, but you really don't know until games, so you see how people tackle and everything, and that's something we're going to need 2 more games to definitely evaluate. I don't. Yeah.
Has CJ won the competition to be the number 2 quarterback?
No, he hasn't.
Why do you want to see him come in second again for the second game in a row?
I mean, Barkley did the first, CJ did the second. I wanted to get CJ out there earlier. I've seen Barkley play in the NFL before. I'd like to see CJ do it a little bit more.
This is a little bit more random, but it seems like the last couple of years, there's been so many penalties on kicks and punts league-wide. Do you have any sort of reason why, or what your take on maybe why those plays have been so flagged, so common?
League-wide, or are you saying in preseason?
It seems like league-wide, common.
I'm sorry, we start your question again? I didn't hear the beginning of it. My bad.
No worries. The last couple of years, it seems like there's an epidemic of penalties on special teams plays. Do you have any take as to maybe why those seem to be increasing?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean I'm right, but just my guess would be, I mean, when you kick a ball a long ways and there's a long way to go for people running and stuff, it's very hard to block people and stuff in space and do things like that. And sometimes it's hard to stick and block a guy over a 40-yard play without holding him a little bit or getting close to a clip. And there's so much moving parts on special teams that would make sense to me why there's the most penalties there, even more so in the preseason because the different guys that you have doing it. But those plays are long developing. And just like when you see a guy get holding on an offensive play on the outside, they're thinking it's going in the inside and the back stops and reverses the field. And then all of a sudden someone gets a holding call on it because they didn't expect it to go in there. And special teams, I feel like it's like that every play.
How are you at yelling at officials? Is that something you've had
I'm
practice with?
pretty good at it. I've been a little distracted the first 2 games, so I've been off my game on it. But no, it's not something that you want to do. Those guys are trying just as hard as we are. I think I was worse at that when I was younger. Now that I'm older, I've gotten better at realizing they're trying just as hard as we are, and it doesn't help just to yell at them. You got to talk to them and see if you both can learn from something that possibly could have been a mistake.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks.